Okay, then I will move on to the next presentations, and here we'll get into a bit more detail about how the CITWIN project is developing tools to help cities create urban digital twins. And for that, we have our colleagues from the University of Aarhus, namely Sigurd and Martin, who will be presenting, but also Lucas Esterl has been involved very heavily in the project.
My name is Martin, and I'm here with Sigurd to talk about the tools that we are developing here at Aarhus University as part of the CITWIN project. First of all, we could talk about why we are building the tools. So, first of all, the tools are really what the digital twin is, but it's also a way to put the research that is being done in the project into practice. And it's also the idea that these tools would be helpful for urban planners in the municipalities, because the problem often is that the impact of infrastructural changes are hard to predict. So hopefully, using tools like we're developing will help create feedback loops, digital feedback loops, and using data visualization, we will help these urban planners to make better decisions. And at the bottom, we see 4 focus points that these tools have. It's user interaction, immersion, simulation, and the visualization of data. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we are in this project developing 2 tools in parallel. One of them is the 3D digital twin city, that is like a 3D virtual environment of the city with the purpose of being more immersive and closer to reality, and then having visualized some data on top, for example, the NetA score, and being able to interact, hopefully also to create the feedback loop needed for it to be a digital twin. And the other tool is a more simple 2D map view that is being developed using a ThinkSport software framework. And this has the purpose of being sort of more simple, approachable, accessible tool available in a browser website URL. And the use for this would be to visualize some of the data on a 2D map, and also it is the plan to have it publicly available so that citizens can go in and make public suggestions for certain areas or certain infrastructure of the city, make suggestions or give constructive criticism. And as showed in the bottom left corner of this slide, the plan is also to have these tools have a shared database, perhaps with a knowledge graph or some kind of way to use machine learning or AI for optimizing some of the infrastructure in the city. And for the data that we are using to develop, we are, as said, it's supposed to be generic frameworks, so using as much open source data as possible, and a lot of it can be found on OpenStreetMap that we're also using for sort of background maps and geolocations of different things. And then another thing is that cities could use their own municipality data. For example, Aarhus has this municipality survey of commuter data that is showing where people commute to for work, with the dark red being more people and the light green being less people. And another is the NetA score, of course, as Martin from Salzburg talked about, that we also want to be able to visualize on the digital twin tools. And to briefly go over the knowledge graph. So this is just like a sort of a first draft, maybe, but the idea behind it is that the database would have an ontology or a structure so that the data, because it comes from so many different sources, heterogeneous sources, different kinds of data, that we would be able to relate it to each other in a hopefully meaningful way. And for the 2D tool being developed on ThinkSport, is a picture of the interface as it is now. It's still a work in progress, but the idea is that you would be able to visualize different layers over the background map. And for example, the NetA score can be seen, and you can click on them and see each segment what the walkability and bikeability score is, and also users are able to log in and create suggestions for specific locations to give suggestions about the infrastructure, and hopefully the city will be able to use that for implementing new infrastructure.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about another tool we're developing called the Digital Twin City. This is an application where the purpose is to combine visualization with simulation and data visualization. So the focus points of this application has been immersion, where we, for example, have used a 3D geometry from the Aarhus municipality, but it's also trying to show the visual representation of a thing such as the NETA score. And we are currently working on an integration with MATSIM that KTH is working on, or they are working on the simulation. Then if we should hopefully at some point be able to show this simulation inside the 3D world. Yeah. So on the right side, you see two versions of the software. In the top right, we have the first version where we used OpenStreetMap data only, to where we basically generated the 3D geometry ourselves from that data. And below that, we actually have used the 3D geometry from Aarhus municipality, where you also see, and in both applications, you also see the NETA score being shown. But I'll show more later with a demo. And I'm currently also working on doing this for Eskilstuna. They don't have a 3D geometry like we do here in Aarhus, but they only have a 3D of buildings. But what I'm working on is basically using those 3D buildings and then put a 2D map below that, so it will basically be a map like you'll know from Google Maps or similar. Now I actually wanted to share a demo of my application. So I'll not go full screen, but you see here, this is the application of, so what you see here is a 5 by 5 kilometer grid of Skødstrup, which is a test area we use here in Aarhus. And we can move around in this 3D world, as you see here. And it's pretty clear if you go down that it is 3D here. It's lagging a little bit because I'm showing you doing a Zoom call, but you see it down at the bottom here. We also have the NETA score ready, as we have which we have fetched from the API that Martin showed later and cached that. And up in the right hand or left hand corner, we're actually able to toggle between the bikeability of the NETA score. So you can see here we are able to show the NETA score projected onto the 3D geometry that the Aarhus municipality has provided, and as well the walkability, where you see the lighter areas being where there's a better, some of it is not working right, but you see lighter areas where there's a great walkability in this case, and the darker areas where it might not be as great. And as you see, you can also hover over roads to see in the right-hand corner the bikeability and walkability scores, as well as some extra information from OpenStreetMap. And as I also explained earlier, I'm currently trying to also do this for Eskilstuna, but it's not quite ready for it to be shown. As simulation of cars right now, they're just driving around randomly at the moment, so they don't care if it's sidewalks or only walkable paths. They're driving around that, but as I've also explained earlier, when we'll have integrated the MATSIM into this, the cars shouldn't be, or bikes or people shouldn't be walking or cycling places where they wouldn't be able to. Yeah. But right now it's just cars driving around randomly on the highways.
So the idea is that you'll be able to access this just as a public link and view click and see the NETA score, as I kind of already showed, and then the public suggestions that have been made. And then this is not fully functional yet, but you would be able to log in and then make your own suggestions